Chaim. There was a Sifas Rabbanim. They had the Gdeilah Rabbanim come up to speak. So before they spoke, one of the rabbis goes over to the Manche, the MC, and he says, Tumer Ateva, when you call me up, don't use any titles, don't call me Arav Agoin, don't call me Arav Tzadik. And he gave him a list of titles, what not to call him up as. Sure enough, when the MC calls him up, he listed all the words and titles he was told not to, although he was warned, and the rabbi tells him, please, don't use any of these titles because the Pasha gives me tsar when you call me up this way. He calls him up, Arav Agoin, Arav Tzadik, Rashke Bahag, and so on and so forth. After the evening, the rabbi who was called up comes over to the MC and gives him an envelope with $500. The MC says, "My hi, he told me it's a tsar for you. It's painful when you get all these titles." He says, "Yeah, lefum tsar agra." When we have to speak by the Kinnis HaShluchim, the Rebbe made it clear what we have to speak about in the words of the very first Sif. In the Sicha of Chayesara, der Fun is moving, as in dem besteht im Torah, von dem heintigen Kinnis HaShluchim Eilami. Sich zusammenreden und herauskommen mit Achlates Tevis, am Aslekaiman Bepoyol, wie zu ausführen die Schliches Miyuchedes von dem Itzkin Zman Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. We're learning in Rambam these days about the Kiddush HaChodesh. The Rambam says there's Shnasa Ikar. We have a Shnasa Ikar of Tafshin und Beis Chayis Sarah, and that is what is our mission statement and what we have to do. And that is we have to zusammenreden. It's a little difficult standing on a mic. Over here, it's zusammenreden, so we have to speak a little bit back and forth, and to come out to Tachlotes Tevis, I'm going to ask Lekaimim Mepoyol with to complete Oisvirin, the special slichis of today's time, Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach. And the Rebbe says about the shlichis, it's a chiddush, it's a shlichis miyuchedes, it nem durch, it penetrates, und is der Schar durch welche alle in Yonah shlichis eine Nele. Later on, the Rebbe says that what is waited for now is the einzige Sach, was es ist geblieben in der Avedas HaShlichis, is zu mekabel sein Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu bepeil mamish. And in order to do this, what is going to be if we do this? In order that the Rebbe Mashiach soll kennen mekain sein Shlichus sei bepeil und reisen am Eldin von Golos. These words, lekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. This is what our mission statement is. This is what our life is. How do we do it? What are we supposed to do? And I ask myself, because we darf sich zusammenreden, and there's two mics so we can talk to each other. How do we actually do it? What does this mean in my life? And interestingly, the Rebbe goes into a whole discussion, what is the Aveda of a Shliach? And the Rebbe speaks about the Shliach, not so much about the Shlichus. And the Nekuda is that the Shliach himself, the person, the Shliach, which the Hadgasha is about the Shliach, just like Eliezer, it's about Eliezer, not so much about the Shlichus, about Mashiach being a Shliach, about the Eberster himself, Kaviyachal being a Shliach, the Shliach himself, including within himself the Yichud Ma'oban. It's a Veda about ourselves, what we have to do. B'derech Klal, in the Sichas of the Kinnis HaShluchim L'Chayra, what is the mandate? What is the Rebbe telling us? What is our Aveda to do to accomplish in the world? What's the new Shlichus? Here the Rebbe says, Lahachin Atzmai, Zich Alein Zugreitin. It's an Aveda that we, the Shluchim, the Shliach has to do. What do I have to do? Where do I have to live? What has to be my life? And that is L'Kabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. What does it mean, L'Kabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu? Maybe there's a word in the Sikha that Rebbe says that Mashiach is The Goyal Achren, he comes to Seif Sman HaGolus, B'Seif HaAveda. There's the Maila of the Mekabel, that through his Bittul, he's Koilel in Apnimius, all Hashpois, Milmaila. It's an Aveda that we have to give ourselves over. We have to be Mekabel. What does it mean, Lekabel, Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu? Be Mekabel, take in within yourself, start living with the Pnimius of Mashiach. We have to live the Rebbe's life within our life. Today, Chaf Hei Cheshvan, 46 years ago, there was a Chassan and Kala that had their Vart. It was before they Rav the Rebbe. We don't make Varts, we make L'chaims. They had their Vart 46 years ago on Chaf Hei Cheshvan. Thursday it was. A few days later, on Sunday, they went into Yechidus. And they gave the Rebbe, besides the Chassan and the Kali, each writing their pan, they gave an envelope with all the money they received by their Vart. And the Rebbe asks, das ist the ganze Geld, was ihr bekommen? Respond, yes. Und ihr geht es alles weg zu mir und lasst gar nicht für euch? Jetzt, das ist meine, kann ich tun mit dem, was ich will. The Rebbe gave a certain amount to the Chassan, a certain amount to the Kala to do what they want. Then the Rebbe took the remaining of the money, put it into the drawer, and mixed it with other money and gave a portion of it back to the Kala, who was from Eretz Yisrael, and said, as it comes to in Eretz Yisrael, so to machen a farbrengen, you should make a farbrengen for your friends that were not here, and you should repeat from what you saw and heard here. This Chassan and Kala were my parents. L'kabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu. To live completely with Mashiach means that I'm ready to give everything away, and not only ready, but I give it all to the Rebbe. Not just all the money, but my machshava, dibur, maisa, seichel, and midis, everything, I'm giving it over to the Rebbe. And then the Rebbe says, jetzt das ist meiner, kann ich tun mit dem, was ich will. It's mine. I'll tell you what to do. And what is the Rebbe saying? Here I'm giving you some of the money. The Shliach is sent, Eliezer is sent to find the Shidduch. He's told what he has to do. He's a Shliach. But how and what the detail, says the Rebbe, you have to use your own seichel. But this is part of the Shlichus, that we give over our seichel, our midis, the way we plan, the way we discuss, the way we figure things out. It's not like, I'm ready to give over lemechze, l'shlish, l'revia. Das ist also seht bakumen? Und ich geht jetzt also weg zu mir? I should know that everything I'm giving to the Rebbe, because everything has to be l'kabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu, means that there's no part of the shlichus, says the Rebbe in the Sicha, that's outside of the shlichus. There's no part of the shliach that's outside of the shlichus. How I learn, how I daven. And this we find in the Sicha before in Parshas Vayera, that you're eating and drinking, and you still stay hungry, because you want the Sudav Libyas and Sheirabar. Now you're not eating because of other reasons of Shaila. Das L'chaim kann man sagen, das Sicha, ich gibt Shaila B'kashus, L'chaim. Or like the Rebbe speaks in Teildis, when the Rebbe explains the theme of the Shlichus. In Chayesara, the Rebbe tells us what the theme of the Shlichus is. Kol Yemei Chayechel Lahavi L'Meis HaMashiach. What does it mean, Kol Yemei Chayechel Lahavi L'Meis HaMashiach? So we heard, remember B'Shaitin Tavshin and Beis. It seems like, if we may say, that on Chayesara, during the Kinus, it wasn't explained enough, so the Rebbe in Parshas Teildis himself went and explained what does it mean, Kol Yemei Chayechel Lahavi L'Meis HaMashiach. Our entire life, Al Kol Neshima V'Neshima, alt geht man weg zum Rebbe. Everything is durchgenommen with Mashiach. And not little rabbis. We're planning in a later state. We're doing work to bring something which is going to come later. But lahavi, to bring into our life now, to live Mashiach. And was meant leben Mashiach? Leben Mashiach means that when it comes, then I have to pay bills, I have to make a pa'ula, I have to deal with my children, I have to deal with anything in my life. I think and I live a way of Geula and Mashiach. How does the Rebbe approach it? How does the Rebbe see this? Should this be done in a matziv of Yemois HaMashiach to Moshe Nimtzai Mata? We were sitting in the Weibershul then, it was Tashin and Beis Yitzchak Kislev. It was a Yechidus for Archim, so we weren't allowed inside. We were in the Weibershul. And you hear the Rebbe saying, Yemois HaMashiach, was me gefindt sich jetzt. We're in Yemois HaMashiach, says the Rebbe. The Gilui of Mashiach, sometimes there's a discussion. The Rebbe told us what's going to be, how things are going to turn out. The Rebbe hat uns gesagt a Nevuah. For sure the Rebbe told us a Nevuah. But it's much more than that. The Rebbe told us some Metzias. And not only the Rebbe told us some Metzias, the Rebbe hat uns aufgeheben, the Rebbe lifted us and brought us to a new reality. There's one of the Lag Ba'omer parades. Rabbi Yaakov Yehuda Hecht was a little Marashcheda before the parade. You see a video at the end of the parade. He turns to the Rebbe. The Rebbe asks him, "Nu, how are you feeling now?" I don't remember the words. So he says, "The Rebbe hat mir a Reis geschleppt." And the Rebbe says, "Nein, aufgeheben." There's a famous story with Rabbi Weinberg. He had someone he knew that had an urgent question to ask the Rebbe. It was late at night. He figured that Rabbi Chadikov goes into the Rebbe after the United Yechidus, so he's going to bring a zettel, give it to Rabbi Chadikov, and he'll be able to get an answer. Rabbi Chadikov, the time he came to 770, Rabbi Chadikov was in the Rebbe's room. So he takes the zettel, puts it in the crack of the door by the Rebbe's room, and hoping that when Rabbi Chadikov walks out, he'll see it and give it to the Rebbe. Rabbi Chadikov walked out, I don't know, backwards, or he didn't notice, and the zettel falls to the ground. And the Rebbe picked it up and gave an answer. Rabbi Weinberg felt very bad that he caused the Rebbe to bend down. So the following day, he wrote an apology. And the Rebbe wrote back, "Harei kol inyani ufzaheben." My whole thing is to lift, to pick up, to ufzaheben, and especially that others have forgotten or not seen. The Rebbe tells us, kol inyani is ufzaheben. The Rebbe the Rebbe is lifting and rising the entire world. Every Yid, every Chassid, every Shliach, to a matziv of Geula. And the Rebbe says that we finished the Aveda, and we are now in a state of Geula. Now is the Aveda of Lekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. What does that mean? Maybe the Rebbe says, I brought you till this point. Now you, meaning me and you and every one of us, we have to start living it. We know the story of it. Mendel had a docker. He was in a Tveria in Yerushalayim, and someone's blowing the shofar. Mashiach is there. He opens the window and he puts his head out to see, to smell the avir, if it's avir shel Mashiach, because in his room there was avir shel Mashiach. The Rebbe not only opened the windows, opened the door, but brought the entire world to avir shel Mashiach, that the whole world today breathes another type of ear. The Rebbe lifted us on top of the mountain, and when you go higher onto the mountain, the ear is more refined. It says, "Edelet avid." We have to breathe another type of ear. And this is the avid of Mashiach. And this avid of Mashiach, like the Rebbe says in Teildis, and also in Chayesara, this is the ear we have to breathe. But how do you breathe it? What's the tank you put on? Says the Rebbe, learning Yanigula Mashiach. And like, what is it? Learning Yanigula Mashiach. I'm learning. We make shiurim. In Vayetze, the Rebbe says that we find ourselves in a time of Geula. We're sitting by the table, Sheirabar, Yaina Mishumar, everything is ready. And Mikvar, Nosen Hashem Lechem, Lev Ladas, we have a heart, we have eyes, but we have to open it up. How do you open it up? Mizalenin inyani Geula Mashiach in an oifin as das alufefen in the eigen. As in an oifin as das alufefen in the hearts. We have to live Mashiach. How? Through learning Yoni Geula Mashiach. These are the avid that we have to breathe in now, in a way that this opens our eyes. How? What? Maybe, remember seeing a zettel from Tashon Yud or Yud Aleph that ever writes to a chassid, Melerint and es kommt lepoil vuz de bitachim. That's a ksav-yad. We can learn and learn, but it doesn't affect my life. It doesn't change my life. I'm learning. It's a nice subject. But it's not about learning. It's about living. It's not just learning a subject. We're studying. We spend time. This is our life. Kol yimei chayecha. Our entire life is lahavi, to bring in now. Likabel, to internalize, to accept, to make it part of who I am. And what I am, the avid of Pnei, the Pnimius of Mashiach Tzidkenu, that I live. I live every day. I live every moment. When I deal with my children, I deal with my shlichus, when I deal with my life, that I am ready. And I internalize Mashiach Tzidkenu, and then I live a different life. Then the Rebbe takes us out of Galus because we're living the Rebbe's life. It's Motzei Shabbos, it's Til Namaisa, L'chaim. Shazar came to visit Montreal. President Shazar. It was a short visit. He had a busy schedule. It did not necessarily include visiting Yiddish Meisdis, Shurna Lubavitch Meisdis, but then the Chassidim in Montreal get a hira from here, from the Rebbe, that they should make a ishtadlus to make a visit, the delegation should go to Shazar. They shouldn't say it comes from the Rebbe. However, if nothing works, use the last card and say that it's a the Rebbe asked they should come to visit. So they come, they try to speak to his entourage, those that are arranging his schedule, and they didn't want to hear, he's busy, he has to meet all types of dignitaries, he has all types of meetings, there's no time. And Bichlal, they had not a comfortable place in their heart for Lubavitchers, because last time when he once came, he ran away from them almost to go see the Rebbe. So the Chassidim had no choice. They said, this is something that comes from the Rebbe. But weiter, those around him don't want to give over this message. So they said, it won't be pleasant if Shazar finds out that the Rebbe wanted something and you guys did not tell it to him. Okay. So they gave over the message. Shazar says, sure. As the Rebbe is asking for something. We're going to set it up. There's no time. 5 minutes we'll designate for them. We'll cut off from another meeting 5 minutes. Beautiful. Once this approval came back, there's a idea from the Rebbe exactly who should go. If I remember correctly, it was Rabbi Hirschsprung, it was the Rabbi Roshi, and one of the Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshiva, Rabbi Handel, the Rav of the Kehillah, and one of the Rosh Yeshivas, Rabbi Kramer, and Rabbi Isaac Shvei, and Rabbi Peretz Mochkin, my Elter Zayda, who was Isgan Chassidi Chabad and the Mashpia of Anash in Montreal. And it came with an extra nekuda, an extra point, and that is that everyone else, you should tell them before we go. Rabbi Peretz Mochkin soll man nehmen, wie steht und geht. Take him the way he is. Okay. So everyone else was told before to prepare. They're going to meet the president of Israel in the presidential suite in Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal. Kenshe Meinin, Chashve place. Everyone's ready to go. Once everyone's in the car, Rabbi Isaac Shvei, on the way, they're passing by to pick up the Peretz Mochkin. The Peretz Mochkin, besides being a mashpia, or for Parnosa, he made wine. So from time to time, he was in his winery making wine. So they were hoping when they're going to pick him up to go visit Shazar, he's going to be in yeshiva, he'll be davening, he'll be learning. But to their great dismay, he's sitting in his winery, working. And I haven't been in a winery. Al Kapanin, they say that when someone works in a winery, Sinem durch. Maybe that's what it means over here. It says durchnemen. When you walk outside, it's a schmeckt sich schön. They told him that the Rebbe said he should come to visit Shazar, no problem. He washes his hands with some soap and he gets into the car. When he got into the car, everyone sitting in the car felt like they said a little l'chaim. The wine, the smell of the wine was so strong and so powerful that everyone felt that they're going through this experience. Okay, but the Rebbe said, that's what we do. Azevi Shteten Gate. They come to the hotel, they go into the presidential suite, and they sit down, and Rabbi Isaac Shvei introduces, this is Rabbi Hirschsprung, the Rav Rashi, and this is it. And this is Peretz Mochkin, the Mashpia of Anar, Skan Chassid Chabad, and a good friend from Mishpachas Rubishov. And a good friend of the Mishpachas Rubishov, like the Rebbe said, that's what the Rebbe said to introduce him. So they sat down, and my Zayda begins to speak to Shazar. So he asks, Shazar says, you knew Mishpachas Rubishov? He says, yeah. Who? And they start talking. His uncle, his cousin, his Zayda. The kids said they went on a trip. And they begin to discuss the mishpacha. You know, like old Russians could sit together and start discussing. They would forget about everything else in the world. And here they're talking about your Zayda and Lubavitch. And I remember your Zayda. My Zayda tells him, I remember your Zayda, how he used to daven. And the nigun, you ever heard the nigun? He says, no. So he starts singing the nigun. He says, oh, I remember that nigun. And he starts to cry. The Kitzer, the presidential suite turned into a Chassidische Verbringen. Eifenam is Kabul on the highest level. And so, they're sitting and talking. They had 5 minutes. After 15 minutes, his secretary is knocking on the door. Hello, there's other meetings. After 15 minutes, he's knocking on the door. It's like the Israeli, you know, they say by the Israelis, only in Hebrew you can say this line. Right? It doesn't. So after he said 5 minutes, 15 minutes later, they're knocking on the door. So the Zalman says, he says, close the door, go away. And he tells the Zayda, I need him like an echte tag. I'm sitting here with my family. It's about me and my family. I need all these stories. And so they sat for 45 minutes and they sat on Verbringt. After a while, Zayda sagt, darf sagen l'chaim. He says, who are we? Wer seinen wir? Wir sind gardeners. We're nothing. But we're shluchim of the Rebbe. And you're also a shliach. And he begins to tell him, after they said l'chaim, that what do you think? Where is your position and why are you there? You're in a place that you can accomplish things for the Rebbe. And it was clear in all of those that were there that Shazar got the point that why Le'ez Kazais he got Le'malchus as a kanturch for the Rebbe's in Yonim. Rabbi Isaac Shvei wrote a duch to the Rebbe. And he wrote everything, but the Nekudah was about the Verbringen that was there at the end. The Rebbe had a lot of nachas ruach. We think we have to meet certain people. We have to accomplish certain things. First of all, Azevi Mishteten Gate. Each and every one of us, starting from myself, we have to be ready, as I am now, to go meet every Yid and tell him that we are shluchim of the Rebbe, not just we, but he's the shliach of the Rebbe. Wie Mishteten Gate. You want to teach it that you could be begodim chamutzim. You could be told that Eved Atov, Ata Arub, Bni Baruch, von deswegen sein Shliach. So seiner say, whatever the case is, the Rebbe wants to make everyone shluchim. The Rebbe says the Chiddush in Deira Shvi in our time is that every Yid is a shliach. The Rebbe is not looking to select few that they are shluchim. Every Yid is a shliach. A Chiddush in our time that you could tell every person is a shliach. You could tell every Yid, you could tell Shazar he's a shliach. Aber Azevi du stehst in Geist. That wherever situation you are in, you're not only ready, but you're going to go and bring the Rebbe's message because you live with it. Vasanem durch dir, because you are Mekayim lebkabel pnei Mashiach tzidkenu, the kol yemei chayecha lahavi lemeisa Mashiach. Maybe practically speaking, how do we do this? We learn in Yonei Gula Mashiach. It's not just about learning. It's about living. Chassidim weiß man darf misbeinen sein. When is the last time I have to ask myself, I was misbeinen, Pasha did his banenus about Mashiach, about Geula. To take a sicha of the Rebbe, to take the sicha of Chayisara, of Vayera, of they tell this Vayetze, and be misbeinen, Trachtich Siddis. Trachtich Siddis only means a mimer that you learned when you were in yeshiva, in Shir Beis, and you had a shir that you understood. Take this sicha, think about it, drown yourself in it. It should penetrate every part of you that you act differently. Zay misbeinun, hizbanin nisamitis, alibe din afshei. Be misbeinin yoni Geula Mashiach. I can tell you myself. I was asked to speak. So you have to think and think. The last week when I'm thinking about what I have to speak, automatically I'm thinking about Mashiach differently. Because my mind is filled with this concept. This is what I'm thinking about. When you make a campaign to raise money, a charity campaign or whatever campaign it may be, you're thinking about it every moment. Whoever you meet, you speak about it. Not because Kimisha Kafay Shed, Chas V'Shalom, or B'Kabbalah Soil. This is what you're living with, and that's what you speak about. When the Rebbe says the story in Tavshim and Gimel, I believe, that the Yid meets another Yid and he has to say Mashiach now. Story of Moshe Feller. So what it? So it's Kabbalah Soil, I answer my phone, I say Mashiach now. If you live with something, you're bubbling with it. This is your life. You're going to talk about it automatically. This is what you speak about. This is what you care about. This is what you're breathing. This is what I should be breathing. We have to be mizbeinim mitzah. Pasha, the Rebbe speaks about it in Veschanon, to be mizbeinim in the Inyan. Think, sit this 5 minutes. The Rebbe stood up for, when the Mashbiach came in and said, there's a Bach in Kfar Chabad, das Tag, sit this 5 minutes. The Rebbe stood up. Think 5 minutes a day about Geula Mashiach, about a Sikha of the Rebbe. You'll stand up, you'll live differently, you'll be on a higher level. Secondly, we have to talk to ourselves. We have to talk to ourselves that in every situation we have to bring Geula Mashiach. What does it mean to bring Geula Mashiach? To bring the Alufi Shalayla Min Geula. In Achar Meishdeshim and Emmer, the Rebbe speaks about Geula, but in another Sikha, it's Kislev Meheir, Bekitzer upon him. The Rebbe says that you're in a situation where you don't feel, where it's a golasdika situation. Be megala lakusdir. Be megala de ebershnedir. What's Geula? What's Geula? Geula is going to be that we're going to have, excuse my language, stickers and flags. Geula is as mitlebim mit ata reisa ladas ke Hashem hu alikim enet milvadai. That's the Rebbe says in Smichas Torah Nun Beis. And the Rebbe says we have to start living that now. To live in every situation, Geula. Imagine when I have to go to a Gvir and ask him for $1,000, $1 million, whatever it may be. So if I'm going from a Gullus mentality, I don't know, who am I, how could I do it? But if I'm going from a Geula place, so I know, as ein eid milvadei, and the Geld is nit seiner, and I can ask him whenever I have to ask him. But it has to begin that I live with Geula. So sometimes we have to tell ourselves in the first Sikha, that is Psuras HaGeula, Parshas, I think it's the Tafshin Nun. The Rebbe says there are Loshin, they should be mefarsim about Anilu Deidi, and the Rebbe says like this, when you meet yourself, when the Yechidah Sheben Nefesh meets your other parts. Our Yechidah, when we're sitting here tonight, in such a beautiful atmosphere of Geula, we live Mashiach. Here, everything is clear. The Rebbe is a davar echem idvara liipul reikam. What the Rebbe says is a reality, and it's good. When I go out tomorrow, the next day to Manhattan, to meet people and speak to people, I don't have the words to say it. Says the Rebbe, when your Yechidah meets your Nefesh Ruach Neshama, tell him the truth. Speak to your... Tell ourselves, the Rebbe told us we find ourselves in Yemai Mashiach. The Rebbe told us that now is a tkufa that we're already in Geula. The Rebbe lifted us into the reality of Geula. We have to start breathing Avir Shel Mashiach to live Geula. And finally, bring Yidden to the Rebbe. Tell Yidden to write to the Rebbe. We should connect our Yidden to the Rebbe. This is the greatest gift we can give them. The greatest gift can be to be Mekasher Yidden to the Rebbe. People, as shluchim, people come to us with problems, with situations. Connect them to the Rebbe. Connect them to the Rebbe is the greatest thing we can do for our Yid. We're in a special year. This year is Chaim Shana. It's Chaim Shana of the Nesius of the Rebbe. Beis Nissen Tavshim Emches. The Rebbe spoke about Chaim Shana and said, the sikha that we have here, it's hard to see it in this lighting. When the Nekuda is the idea of this Chraza of Yechia Melech. In the sikha of Tel, there's a Hemshech of Kinas HaShluchim. The Rebbe says, weiter, the idea of the Haftarah of this week, that what's Yechia Deni Melech David Leilam, the Nitzchis of Malchus David, what the Teichen of the Achraz Azu is Galus Mitziyusi Shel Melech HaMashiach. We mentioned Shazar earlier. I'll finish with another story. Roberto Levi, who founded OK Hechsher, used to go to Russia in difficult times. And when he used to come back, he used to go into Yechidus and show the Rebbe videos from a Yidden in Russia. I don't know if it was Nittelnacht or Kayetze Bezeh. He's showing the Rebbe a video of a Chassid, I think it was a Grisha, who was a Sheikhet. And the Sheikhet is talking to the Rebbe because they knew in the videos that they're going to talk to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe is going to see these videos. And he tells the Rebbe that I'm not asking permission to leave Russia. I'm not asking permission basically to leave my shlichus because I know the Rebbe is not going to let me leave because I have a job here to be a sheikhet. But I'm asking the Rebbe to give me a niggin. With this I will go into Yechidus to the Rebbe. If I remember correctly the story, the Rebbe, tears were seen from the Rebbe's Halik eyes. The Rebbe turns to Ber Levi and says, you should tell him that he can sing the Alter Rebbe's niggin. And with this, he can go into Yechidus. And the Rebbe added that also Shazar, when he has questions, he sings this niggin. That's how we heard this story. This is not a public story. But the Rebbe gave us a niggin that the Rebbe has spent over 14 months coming to Chassidim, coming to Yidden, coming to Klal Yisrael, and revealing himself to us with this niggin. This was the Fabrengen, this was the Sicha, this was the Maimer, this is the Yechidus, this is everything. The one time that we saw Begili the Rebbe by the Kines HaShluchim banquet was here. Again, I was in the Weibershul because of Tafshin Gimel. When the Rebbe came out to the banquet of Kines HaShluchim, and it was a moment of Yechidus of all the Shluchim with the Rebbe, a Yechidus, like the Rebbe says in the Maimarim, of the Yechidah, Shabi Yechidah, the Yechidah of a Yid is Niskasher, connects to the Yechidah of Nisi Adeir. It's a moment of the Gilui of Etzem HaNeshama. And what happened in that moment of the Gilui Yechidah, that all the Shluchim stood here together, and they sang and they asked one thing. And this has to be in a way of L'kabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, that we should accept, internalize, make it part of our life, the Pnimis of Mashiach. That it's not just an Odein, a Meida, and a Rebbe, but it's Adineinu, Meireinu, V'Rabbeinu. This is my Rebbe, my Odein. And like Eliezer says, Eved Avram Anochi, is Deila Mashke B'Teres Rabbi. He gives himself over in every part, that there's nothing left that he's not giving himself over. And with this, the Rebbe gave us the opportunity that in a time that we can't go out of, we have to give ourselves over and we can connect in a matzav of Yechidus. This can maybe a niggin that we go into Yechidus. Yechi Adeinu, Mereinu, V'Rabbeinu.